Good evening. As your host of CWS, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for your patience and also how important it is that when you embark on a journey and you're faced with obstacles, how important it is to continue. I am not sure why this happened tonight, but I love to take challenges and put them in perspective and in context and use them as teaching moments. I had an issue earlier with my broadcast, not realizing that something was unplugged and I shifted to Ustream. I know I didn't want to use Ustream. We had moved away from Ustream onto another platform that brought you a better production. And I didn't panic. I tried it, it didn't work, and then I discovered the problem. But I want to use this as a teaching moment. Don't panic. Do not panic. If you have an audience that believes in you, take that into consideration and try until you succeed. So, with that said, I want to reintroduce you to Roger Gary, our guest tonight. And let's start this all over again. Roger, my friend, good evening once again.
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Deja vu all over.
Yes, let's start over. Let us start over. As a child,
Yes.
who was the one person whose presence meant the most to you?
My mom. It'll have to be my mom. I
Yep.
mean, my dad too, but but it's basically
Mom.
my mom. Yeah, mom. She was, there, and mainly because of that magical tool that she had, the sewing machine. That I really gravitated to as a child.
As a child.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And this question here,
Uh-huh.
and what is the one thing
Uh-huh.
you absolutely had to have as a child? The thing that comforted you the most?
Comfort. I still haven't figured that one out.
We're gonna
I'm gonna, that's a good question. I never really. It's not just one thing. Maybe
Mhm.
it's persons or people and that comforted me. But I don't know what a thing. I have to think of it. I didn't have a stuffed teddy bear or anything like that. So maybe food.
Food, huh? All right. So we'll get back to that. What is your favorite memory of your? Well, you said you didn't have. Let me ask the question.
Right.
Your favorite memory of your grandparents growing up as a child in Guyana?
Right. I did. I had one grandparent. I remember one grandparent, my mom's father, and I think I saw him maybe once or twice. We lived in Georgetown. My grandfather lived in the Essequibo, Pomeroon to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I probably saw him, more than that, but from my memory, probably like twice.
Mm-hmm.
And then he passed away, and I was quite young.
Okay.
And then my other grandparents, they passed, I think, before I was even born.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, how did your adventure as a fashion designer begin?
Started with that magical tool that my mom had,
Uh-huh.
the sewing machine, and it was the very old-fashioned Singer sewing machine, the one that you turn.
Oh, the turning one.
Yeah, the turning one. Yes, yeah, with that rocket-looking bobbin.
Yeah,
you
yes,
know?
yeah.
Yeah, we've come a long way from that right now. So she would allow me to, get on the sewing machine, and of course, having a little child play with, and that's what I was doing, playing with the sewing machine. And I gotta say, she was brave. She was a brave mom,
Uh-huh.
not an unfit mom, but just a brave mom to allow her, her child to get on the sewing machine, with a dangerous
Right.
needle, there. I think it was something she probably saw that I was capable.
Right.
Because at one point it had gotten to the point where the machine was giving her problems, and she would call me to fix it.
Oh.
Yeah, I said, "Oh, could you fix this for me?" And yeah, so I became the person in charge of
Aha.
the sewing machine. Yeah.
Gary.
Mm.
Roger. Sorry.
It's okay.
I see how you light up
Yeah.
or you lit up when you spoke about your mom
Uh-huh.
and the sewing machine,
Uh-huh.
and I almost want to attempt to be presumptuous and ask which is the one that makes you lit up the most. But what I want to ask you is when you were talking about your mom and what were you present to at that moment?
I'm sorry?
What were you present to at that moment when you were talking about your mom and the sewing machine? Because you really lit up.
All right.
Yeah, yeah,
I get
yeah,
yeah. It's hard too because, fast forward to present
Uh-huh.
time,
Uh-huh.
she's now in her 80s, and
God bless her.
I recently, she lived in Orlando, and then now she's back here with me in New York,
Uh-huh.
living in New York, so I could see her, on a regular basis, and she's an awesome lady. I admire her very. I guess her style, factor and all that plays into my fashion
Uh-huh.
moments. How she carried herself, and I look back. I have pictures now. Pictures from, when she was younger, and I look back on it and I said, "Wow, she was a real fashion girl."
Mhm, mhm,
You know.
mhm.
So I do very much. Both of my parents, actually, I would say both of them. Yeah, my dad. He's no longer here. He passed in 2001.
Oh my God.
But he a guy with morals, and he said, you had to go to school and you had to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that was my dad, and then we could do. My parents were separated when I was quite young, so I
Mhm.
lived between two homes.
Okay.
Yeah, I lived between my mom's house and my dad's house,
Mhm.
and so I was, I think naturally that way, but also I was always very independent.
Mhm.
I never really asked if I could do something. I would say, okay, I'm doing this.
Mhm.
This is what I'm doing, or I'm going here, or I'd like to go here. And I think because I had these two homes,
Right.
yeah, that I had to, I played it, to my advantage also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were that young
Mm-hmm.
and fascinated with the sewing machine,
Mm-hmm.
and did you have a sense? At what point did you had a sense that what I want to be able? I want to do this. I want to do fashion designs. Or I want to sew. What point?
At that age, at probably 4 or 5 years old,
Wow.
and of course, during that time, there was no Google,
Right.
and there was no, I guess, a fashion icon that I knew of. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that I wanted to be a designer.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was creative. I love to draw and sketch and do all of that stuff. And then when my friend, her name is Pam Bacchus,
Mm-hmm.
and when she introduced me to all these images that really fascinated me,
Right.
I kind of had a sense of what it was. There were local designers,
Uh-huh.
so I knew, that's what I want. I want to be a designer. That's it. So that's where the whole thing. There was no like it is right now, Sean John and Ralph Lauren and all of that stuff. Of course, the people were designing,
Right.
but I was not aware of all of this stuff that was happening. I
Mhm.
got all my information from going to the library.
The library.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. The Georgetown Public Library,
Uh-huh.
or I don't know if you know, there was a John F. Kennedy Library.
Yes, I used to frequent that one.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's where I got most of my information about fashion, because they would have, the fashion magazines there. So I would go pick them up and, spend all day just thumbing through the whole thing and getting inspiration,
Right.
getting excited about all these, images.
I always marvel at people who knew what they wanted, what they want to do in life at an early age. I went to school with some friends of mine. I look at them today. Some are surgeons, gynecologists, very successful business persons, and so on. They knew then. I know one particular young lady. I'm not going to call her name and so on, but she knew she wanted to be a doctor from since we were children, and she is today.
Well, there was no way I was going to be a doctor.
No, not being a doctor, but knowing what you want.
Yeah.
And there's much to be said about that because then there are those of us who not sure.
Yeah.
What we thought we want is what our parents wanted for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And saying that, did you have any conflicts with what you wanted to do and what your parents, either one of them, wanted you to do or preferred you to do?
For me, medicine was out of the question.
Right.
Because I was hospitalized once, and I got away from the hospital.
Right.
I packed my stuff, and I was like, went home, and I was like, I'm not going back there anymore. Not really, because as I said, from early childhood, and I don't know at what point it started. And I think I think it was my personality too. I was always encouraged or allowed to be. Yeah. And so therefore I would tell my dad, I'm going here, or mom, I'm doing this. So I think that is where that whole thing started. And of course, as a child, you have to go through the normal, early childhood education.
Right.
So I went through all of that stuff, and but then at the back of my mind, I knew that I wanted, something to do with fashion. At that time, I don't know if art as a career was kind of shunned. People felt that you couldn't be an artist, and that's not a career. So, but my parents never really stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. And as I said, my mom encouraged me, and then she upgraded from that machine. She got another one, which when she bought it, I said, wow, she got it for me, So, so I knew from early childhood. As a matter of fact, at school, we would have career day. So each child would have to get up to say what they wanted to be when they, grow up. And all the other boys in my class, was a pilot, a fireman, a policeman,
right.
And then when it's my turn, I would, be a fashion designer, and the class would erupt in laughter. So, but, it didn't bother me at all. As I said, I was always a very confident kid, and didn't have to fight or anything like that, even though I was a very little skinny kid. But I knew how to maneuver myself and get out of situation. I wasn't bullied or anything like that. So,
but thank God for confidence, because look where you are today. So saying that, what does fashion mean to you?
Oh wow, what's fashion mean to me? It's my life. I actually would. In bed, there's my sketch pad is always close by, and I'll wake up in the middle of the night and do stuff, and then don't have no recollection of what I did.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's everything. Of course, it's my career now.
Yes.
And I've gone through the whole realm of developing it from my early childhood fantasy. Into a career. I went to college and all of that stuff for fashion. So and then I had to tweak it to make it work for me.
For you.
Today. Yeah. So it's my life. Yeah.
And this question comes to mind as a fashion designer. Can you describe your perfect client?
My perfect client? No. There's no.
There's no.
They're right. They vary. Everybody wants something totally different. and something that would make them, I'm going to use your term, light up.
Right.
And that's where I get my joy, where you could see them really transforming into that fun thing that that makes them happy. Yeah.
So when a client is satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
what does that do for you?
It's magical. It's a lot of it's I have to do a little bit of psychology in there also,
Right.
because when somebody, especially, I do a lot of bridals. Yeah, I'm giving an example. I do bridals,
Mhm.
and of course, this young woman is here to see me, and she wants a dress, her wedding dress, and usually, not for every girl, I would say, but usually, most of the times they would think of their wedding dresses from the time they were like little girls.
Mhm.
And of course, fast forward, they're now adults, their bodies have changed. What they had in mind for themselves as a girl doesn't work for them as this young woman, or maybe she may even be older. So, and then she comes to me with 8 to 10 different pictures, and I want this sleeve, this bodice, this skirt, this back. So all these things that I have to now work it out to make it this perfect dress.
Uh-huh.
So I have to do use a little bit of psychology to eliminate some things.
Uh-huh.
And for example, if she may be 5'2",
Right.
and with all this stuff
Right.
of a dress,
Mhm.
she's coming down the aisle. You're not gonna see this 5'2" girl. You're gonna see a dress.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel it's my duty and my job to paint this picture of what this dress would look like before it actually happens, and something that would really make her understand. And I always tell them that you have to think of 25 years in the future when you pull out your photographs,
Uh-huh.
and you're showing your your kids or whatever what you look like on your wedding day. It has to be beautiful and magical. Still, still have to feel that way. So there's a lot of things that you have to, say, well, if you use this, it's not going to work that way, and it's not going to work in this time, and so it's a lot of different things that I have to do. Yeah.
So how did you launch your own fashion line?
Well, I interned while in college, I interned at other houses,
Mm-hmm.
and felt that I needed to go out. I didn't want to work for somebody. I wanted to go out on my own, and I wanted the freedom to do fashion, but still have the time to do other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love to travel. I like going places and stuff like that. So I wanted to, still have a career, but still be able to control how and when I do it. So that's when I say, I'm gonna work for myself. Yeah, and I think because it's the Leo in me.
The what?
I'm a Leo.
The Leo.
For those who believe in it.
All right, let's take a break.
All right.
We are back. My guest next to me, sitting next to me, is Roger Gary, the fashion designer. Roger, how are you holding up, my
I'm
friend?
good. I'm good. I'm having fun.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're having fun. So, how would you describe your design aesthetic and color scheme?
Oh well, color scheme varies from season to season. From each collection is totally different.
Uh huh.
But I would say it's classic designs with a hint of fantasy.
Ah,
Yeah,
a hint of fantasy.
yeah.
I like that. Um, what inspires your collection, though?
That varies too.
That varies.
Yeah, it varies. That's where I get all my inspiration. I could get it from. It comes from. I'll give you examples. I did one year. It was a very successful collection. I did a Bond collection, James Bond, 007, yeah, and that came from. I was looking at the Academy Awards. Halle Berry had just won her Academy Award
Mhm.
for. I forgot what she won it for, but in her post interview, she talked about she's not going to be able to enjoy it because she's running off to do this Bond movie.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, wow, Bond. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna do a tribute to Halle Berry.
Right.
So, and that's where I did a James Bond 007 collection, and I picked and of course I grew up looking at the James Bond movies. So I picked 3 movies.
Monster Ball. One of our friends in the chat room says Monster Ball.
No,
That
yeah,
yeah,
right,
Monster Ball.
right.
I was thinking I couldn't remember it. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
So I picked 3 Bond films from Russia with Love, Thunderball, and Goldfinger,
Ah,
and I did the collection around those 3 movies. Got the music and very successful.
well, that's nice. I want to shift to the chat room a little bit
Mhm.
because as I told you, we have another dimension.
Right.
G says we've got you back. Good to have you back. Kali said, "Hi Roger, I am enjoying hearing about your journey. What would be one special aspect of a fashion design that catches your attention?"
Of a fashion design that would catch my
Mhm.
attention. I am a stickler for details. So if something is well done, well put together, I guess the stitching and the seams and all of that, that has to be in place. But I guess also the silhouette, the shape,
Uh huh.
and how it looks on the person wearing it too.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And Kali asked, what elements of the design do you incorporate to create the hint of fantasy?
Well, the classic part of it is for me, because I like, if I'm doing a design for a client, I would want her or him,
Mhm.
mainly her. I mainly do women's wear.
Okay.
I would want her to be able to reach back in that closet 5-8 years, in the future, and pull out that dress and still be able to wear it and still have it look current.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's it's a classic dress. The little hint of fantasy is to make it a little special,
Mhm.
but without making it too trendy.
Let's talk a little bit about trendy.
Uh-huh.
Why not trendy? What?
Well, because trend is only for a moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's like what's happening now, and then it'll be out in a couple of weeks or months.
So what makes your collection stand out from the crowd?
Because I pay a lot of attention to all the details.
Gotcha.
I really think through it. If I'm showing a collection on the runway, everything that I do makes sense. The music, the models, accessories, everything has to really come together. It's not people see it and it may look effortless.
Right.
But I'm not only talking about my collections, but I'm for other designers too. You may see it and think that, but it's a lot of details that goes into all the stuff that happens. You see the glamorous part in the runway,
Uh-huh.
but the late night, early mornings, 4 o'clock in the morning, in the studio working, it's now nobody sees that. But so that's the hard part. That's that's where it all comes together.
So there's a lot of determination.
And I have I have certain mottos
Uh-huh.
about how I work, and and that I'm just as careful and diligent in the end as I was in the beginning, because when you're doing it and you're getting to the end, you want to hurry up and finish it off, and everything could fall apart at that point. So whenever I'm doing a collection and it's coming on to the where I'm going to finish it up and you want to hurry, I have to always step back and say, what, I'm just going to take a breather and really employ all the techniques and all the patience. You have to be very patient if you're gonna be successful as a designer. Everything all my patience goes into my work. Nothing else. Like I would go to the post office and there are 2 people ahead of me, and I want to leave because it's gone.
But that's something about creative people. But I'm not gonna go there tonight. We're very patient with things that we love. Are passionate about.
Right.
So there's this question that I have in mind, that before I did this, and it's almost hypocritical of me, I used to wonder, why would some interviewers ask this question of people about, ask an horticulturist their favorite flower or plant, ask some a driver their favorite car, and But then I started doing this, and I realized that curiosity is a very persistent thing. It gnaws at you.
Shoot,
and the question I have is, what is your favorite piece from your collection over the years?
Oh wow! Of course, I like all of it. And many designers are guilty of that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to tell you why too, because when I do a collection, say if I do a collection, say I want to do, I'm doing a collection of 25 pieces. When you're presenting it on the runway, now, even though I designed all of them and I love all of them, not all the pieces will work for the runway. So I would have a stylist or someone with another person to come in to help me to decide which ones.
Really?
Because not everything would work on the runway. Yeah.
So you do depend.
You have to edit.
You have to, okay.
Yeah, you have to edit. But my favorite pieces, there are a few that I have that I will probably keep, in the archives.
Uh-huh.
A couple that I did way back for Miss Guyana pageants, and there's one dress that I got a lot of attention from. I did a dress with hundreds of little tiny triangle pieces of mirrors that each one I put each one on by hand.
What?
One at a time. Took me a couple of weeks to do it, but so it looked like if the dress was a mirror dress and it was shattered. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's
Where did you get that inspiration?
Where did I get that one from? I can't even remember.
It's all right.
But it was. I showed it first on a young lady who was she was Miss Puerto Rico, and I did it for her for that pageant, and yeah.
So do you have a custom design service?
Yeah, I do. As I said, I do bridals.
Bridals,
So,
right,
Yeah,
right.
that's my main source.
And I heard you mentioned earlier, and I'm sure for our male audience listening, they're probably wondering, oh shucks, you said you do mostly female designs.
Yeah.
Does this mean you don't like doing male designs, or you rather?
No, well, I get more excited
Okay.
sewing a women, creating a women's collection. It's much more, it's much, it varies from
Right.
season to season.
Uh-huh.
Menswear, menswear is kind of, it's more or less the same.
Bland, plain.
Well, I wouldn't say bland, especially now. Guys are
Right.
getting into a whole new color palette, and
Uh-huh.
I mean the silhouettes are more or less the same, but the color palettes are getting more exciting actually.
So where you go for inspiration?
As I s it could come from anything.
Mhm.
Where I live, New York City.
Okay.
I love going back to the Caribbean. I love going back to Guyana. I did a collection maybe like 2 years ago, and it was let me see if I can remember it. It's a long title. A visit to a tropical forest at midnight. There's some other adjective missing in there.
Oh.
Yeah. So I wanted to know what happens in a tropical forest at night where the human eye can't really see what's happening. Yeah. So that was my collection, and I did a whole. The models were draped in all these muted colors, and then the burst of colors for floral and fauna and all of that stuff. So it was for me personally, it
Mhm.
was very successful.
At what point during the process do you get excited? Like
All the time.
all the time. I like
Yes.
that. I like that.
Yeah, it's I go into a fabric store, and many designers are guilty of this. You're going into going to a fabric store and be like, wow, look at this, look at this, look at this. In the beginning of my career,
Mhm.
I would go into a fabric store and spend like all my money on fabric. I mean, all my money where I would have none for food. Yes.
That's passion.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
Because you would see, you'd want all this. Oh, I love this. I love this. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I get very excited in fabric stores, notion stores,
Okay.
and even at Home Depot, I get crazy about. I go there and there's so much fashion in Home Depot too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you attended E.R. Burroughs School of Art in Guyana and the Jamaica School of Art in Kingston, Jamaica.
Yeah.
How do you incorporate art into your fashion designs?
Well, it started there. I knew in Guyana, I knew in Guyana that I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have any major role models for me to, pattern my career after.
Yes.
So and I was very artistic.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard about I'm not quite sure where I got word of the E.R. Burroughs School of Art. I think probably in the newspaper in Guyana. And they were interviewing students.
Mm.
So went to this interview and met this man that changed my life forever. He was doing the interview, and he was the one who created the Burroughs School of Art. He was the principal of the school, and just an amazing man who had a vision to do this school, probably first of its kind.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's still happening, but he had this vision to do the school, and first it was in a little building at the Sophia Exhibition Center,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's when the Sophia area had just started.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was in it was in one of the rooms there, and then he got a building in Eccles on the east bank of Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
He got a building there, and he realized that these students are going to have a problem. He probably said to himself, I want these students to be at school every day on time, and some of them may have a problem getting here. So he arranged a bus
What?
Yes, to come meet us at a certain point and take us to the school.
Wow.
Yeah, and come and pick us up back in the afternoon every single day.
You know,
Dennis Williams.
Dennis
his name.
Dennis Williams.
Yes,
I heard
Yeah.
heard that name.
he's the late Dennis Williams, but
Wow.
an amazing man that really he really helped me to understand myself as a designer.
See,
Yeah.
this is one of the reasons why I like doing this show,
Yeah.
and because, you know, I like to bring out of people
Mm,
their role models, their mentors,
right.
and you know people who have influenced them
Mhm.
in a positive way along
Right.
the way. Because we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
cannot do it
Yeah.
alone. Somebody along the way
Yeah.
influence you or inspire you or say, no, you know what, do this and do it this way.
Mhm.
Let me go to the chat room. Jean said or asked, what are the easiest fabrics to work with and what are the hardest?
The hardest, I'm gonna tackle that one first. Silks, chiffons, very difficult. To
Very
work with.
difficult.
Yes, you have to know what you're doing in handling a chiffon. You have to really make it look special. Yeah.
And Temptation said, hi, Roger. Good to see you, Roger. I know that you attended the Burroughs School of Art, Guyana, where your career started under Dennis Williams. Where do you stand now as it relates to mentorship? Hold on. It's a continuation.
Okay.
Where do you stand now as it relates to mentorship and mentoring young Guyanese designers? There is very little that is being heard of our young designers. Any thought?
Well, there are quite a few designers in Guyana who are doing quite well, actually. I've been living out of Guyana for over 30 years, but I do go back, quite often. And with the because of that magical word, the internet,
Yes.
you could still, I talked to a lot of them, quite a few of them online. There's one particular designer in Guyana, a young designer, who we talk probably a couple of times a week. And he talks to me about fashion and he does, of course, he doesn't know the fabrics very well. So he'd ask me all these questions about what it does, how to handle it, how to cut certain look that he wants to have. So I do, that happens. I would love to really do it in a bigger way. And there's something that I'm not going to really elaborate on it right now, but it's in the works as we speak. As you know, I was talking to somebody today about it, that something is going to be happening in Guyana pretty soon about a workshop and stuff like that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
And as you mentioned Guyana, in your view, what does the Guyana's fashion industry lack?
Well, I think lack.
Yes, lack.
From what materials.
Materials.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And when I'm not just saying fabric.
Right.
I mean fabrics. I'm talking about, threads, zippers, and all the notions and stuff that you need to really do.
Okay.
Really do great stuff.
I want to ask this question because I was there for Christmas and there are lots of stores selling all kinds of stuff. I mean, it seems to me more merchants than consumers. But
Right.
is there a need for is there a need for educating the merchants, or should we be educating the merchants on the need to bring in those kinds of stuff? I mean, I don't know if that's a fair question because at the end of the day, we're talking about business and economics, right? But when I was a child growing up, you had a lot of those stores,
Yeah.
that sold those things.
That time,
Uh-huh.
your grandmother sewed, your mom would sew something for you,
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
Now you could, even here in New York, instead of sewing something, you could go to the store and buy a dress or a shirt for $20, for $20. Yeah. So people don't have the time,
Gotcha.
or they don't want to put the time into, doing that, to sewing I remember my mom used to sew my pajamas, as a little kid in Guyana. Now, you
I
could go and
remember that too.
I'm sure.
I
a lot
remember that too.
yeah, but no, you just go buy them.
Yeah.
There is a niche for people sewing in Guyana because especially if you go into a function and you don't want to have the fear of seeing someone walk into that event wearing your dress that you bought off the rack.
Mm.
So that's what a lot of my clients come, why a lot of my clients come to me. They want something really special and something that they would go out feeling confident that they wouldn't see another person in that dress.
Well, before the end of the show, I have to have in my collection a Roger Gary piece at some point,
cool,
right?
cool,
I have
yeah.
to. I mean,
Yeah,
I must.
well, I do. Yeah, I went to Parsons School of Design, and one of the very, very important classes that I took was men's tailoring.
Okay, Roger. I'm
Right,
glad.
so-
I'm glad to hear that. I'm gonna come knocking.
Yes.
So in the chat room again, G said, "Song's interesting. Getting inspiration from Home Depot." Can you expand on that a little?
Listen, when I'm doing bridesmaids,
Right.
dresses, and the bride can't really decide, I don't know, it's this color, and she's not quite sure of the color. I said, hey, listen, go to Home Depot, go to the paint department,
Yes.
and you see the little paint chips, you'll find the color there.
Yes. Yes. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, but the whole not only that too. I mean, fashion is not just fabric. There's wearable art.
Yes.
I did a menswear collection with little tiny padlocks for closures and
Oh, that's
yeah,
interesting.
and hinges, for the buttonholes. Yeah, all the grommets, that you
Yeah.
could put on clothing, you get it at Home Depot.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So that suit that I'm gonna make for you, it's gonna be out of laminated wood.
All right, Gary. All right, Roger. All right. So Lynette said, "What is the advice? What is the advice you wish you had when you first started out in fashion design that you wish had been given to you then?"
I'm sorry, what's the advice?
What is the advice you wish you had when you first started out in fashion design that you wish you had been given to you then?
Okay, okay. That's a tough one too. When I started out, let me tell you what was happening. And this used to really bother me. I had all these teachers in school that would give me all these stories
Mm-hmm.
about. I don't want to say I don't even want to say failing careers,
Mm-hmm.
but they were, they had a career in fashion, and then for some whatever reason, I don't know why, they're now teachers, of fashion, and I sense that a few of them would always give you these stories
Mm-hmm.
about why they fail as a designer or why they got into fashion. But what I think it was good advice or good talk, because it kind of prepared me for the things that could happen,
Mm-hmm.
with my career.
Mm-hmm.
So it's them telling me, look, if you're not careful of this could happen. But sitting in class, I was wondering, why are they telling me all these bad stories? I want to be excited about fashion. I don't want to, I don't want to hear a sad story. So that question is, I guess I've listened to what they had to say and still use some of the things that I've heard from my teachers.
Mhm.
I still use it for myself today.
Temptation said, "Great to hear of your plan for a fashion workshop. How does the fashion and trends today fit into your vision of customers against ready-made?"
Ready-made. Customer. Well, I think there's a need for custom clothing because everybody would want to tweak it a little bit to fit
Mm-hmm.
their bodies. I have a lot of people who call me up and say, "Hey, can you alter this?" Hate doing the alterations. So there is a need for custom-made clothing. A lot of people buy and then they would take it to, to like a dry cleaner or something to have it altered.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are aware now. I mean, with the internet, people know about fashion and what looks good and what's a good fit and how to make it look good on their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are going to designers and other places to have things altered and tailored to fit them perfectly.
Gotcha. And Kali asked, do you have an archetype of a woman in mind that you design your pieces around? Do you have a special type of woman?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I know who my clients are.
Uh-huh.
And as a fashion designer, you need to know your customer. So that is how usually I designed, my collections. I have a lot of, let me tell you what, if I do a runway show, I have a lot of women who would see me after the show and say, how come all the girls all your models are size 4 or size 6? Well, there's a method behind the madness. Because the reality of it, this is what happens. I'm going to have a female in the audience looking at my collection, and she's a size 14
Right.
or a size 16, and she's going to look at the piece coming down the runway on a size 4 girl or size 6 girl, and she's going to say, I want that.
Ah.
Yeah? But the reverse doesn't really happen.
Oh. And you think this, I don't know if we have enough time to go into the whole psychology of this. I think I'm gonna pass that. I'm gonna forsake that question that was brewing there just now. Let me go back to the chat room. Temptation.
But let me just say this.
Oh, sorry.
Most of my clients are not size 4 and 6 girls.
Gotcha.
Females. I don't want to say girls. They're not 4 and size 6. They're 8, 10, 12. Yeah. 14 and larger.
That's good. That's good to know. There's diversity in your
Yes.
designs. And Temptation, laugh out loud. Yes, Roger. I had a piece from you with the padlock closures. I agree. I love custom. This is Temptation again. I agree. I love custom because I love to be different and unique. Do you find that prevalent among most of your clients that they want?
People they want, as I said, the one of the fears that, people have is, you go to a party or a special event or a wedding or whatever, and especially for females, that's the worst thing that could happen to them. I think they go there and somebody's wearing their dress. That is the worst thing. I mean, who wear it best is great for for a photo thing on the internet or whatever, but especially for professional women, they want to know that they go there, they're out and they're in something special, and nobody else is going to come in wearing her dress.
I asked you a question before about Guyana. What does the fashion industry lack? And let's take it a bit further.
Mm-hmm.
What does the Caribbean fashion industry lack?
Well, I don't know if I remember this. Back in the day, there used to be a lot of manufacturing happening in the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a small percentage of that happening right now in places like Guyana. I think there are a few factories in Guyana now. Most of the factories are in Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me the question again.
What does the Caribbean fashion industry lack?
Lack. Well, knowing in terms of designers, knowing that you need to educate yourself about different fabrics,
Mm-hmm.
and also educate yourself about your customer who they are, what they want. People travel a lot, so you know you got to know which fabric is going to work in which climate, um, and really knowing about how to make that work for you.
Um, let's go on a break, Roger. Give the audience a chance to see some of your some of your work. So take a break and play that ad. We are back. My guest, Roger Gary. Roger,
Yes.
the question I have for you, I want to go back to colors again. Your color scheme, what influences them? And let me preface it this way. I remember it might have been another fashion designer slash or fashion editor. What's his name? Walter Green, a wonderful person I had on the show, and I remember talking about colors. It was one of Guyana's, one I call him late great artist, Donald Locke, who had mentioned to me, because I dabbled with web design sometimes, and he had mentioned to me about colors, and he said, what influenced my choice of colors a lot of times has to do with when I was a child, what I saw around me, and that stuck with me, right? I said that's very interesting. So I want to ask you this question this way: what influenced your color? Do you think a lot of the colors you choose come from when you were a child, your childhood influences? What? How you come up with your color scheme?
Maybe personally, yes. But in terms of doing a collection, the color palette varies from season to season, and I do 2 collections a year, so it varies every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with designers who design for mass produce garments, you would notice you go into the to stores and you'll see that every store has the same color. Every store has the same, more or less the same pattern, same theme happening. It's because there's a company that dictates that.
Okay.
And then they sell that to the designers, and that's how come you know how neons are out this season, and every store you go in, they'll see neons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
that is what happens in the fashion industry.
Do you have a favorite color?
Probably orange.
Orange.
Yes.
Has it changed over the
or maybe blue. I
or
don't
blue,
know.
right? Is it difficult for Caribbean designers to thrive in the fashion world?
Um, I would, yeah, because you know, a lot of the materials, you know, they don't have accessible, you know,
Mhm.
to them. I mean, for me, I could, you know, I go in, you know, in the garment area,
Mm-hmm.
and within a certain block, you know, 4 or 5 blocks, I could get whatever I need,
Okay.
you know, and I could walk around that area, spend a couple hours, and get whatever I need. A lot of designers that live in the Caribbean, they don't have that,
You don't have.
you know, that access. So it's, you know, they have to work around what they could get,
Mm-hmm.
and they depend on what a fabric store would bring in, and it's usually, you know, small yardage. So, you know, they would have to buy it right away. If not, you know, that's
Okay.
it. You know, that's it.
And well, Kali asked, ever consider designing shoes?
No, that's
No?
a whole different realm.
What is the staple piece that all women should have in their wardrobe?
That little black dress.
The black
Yeah,
dress.
Yeah,
Okay.
a little black dress that you could accessorize with any scarf, piece of jewelry, without jewelry,
Uh-huh.
well fitted, good fabric, and something that she'll have forever.
If you could dress any celebrity, who would it be?
Halle Berry.
And after Halle Berry?
But I like a challenge.
Okay.
Aretha Franklin.
Aretha Franklin.
She's always wearing, in my opinion,
Uh-huh.
like the wrong thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
So that would be, I would love to get to like really do some stuff with her.
life is funny. You never know who might be listening. But then, so tell us about your experience designing for the Miss World and Miss Universe beauty pageants.
Oh wow, that started many years ago. Who was my first pageant girl? I can't even remember. But I've done almost every Caribbean American pageant. You know, Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados. I've done it all. And of course, dressing the winners for those country pageants to represent their country in the Miss Universe or the Miss World pageant. Also, I've done that many times. I've been in this business for a long time.
I see a question in the my question or statement in the chat room by Temptation. Was looking at the ads. I am sure I saw my niece displaying your fashion.
Mhm.
I'm sure if my memory served me well, you designed a few of her pieces for Miss Guyana Universe 2005, and she mentioned Candace Franklin.
Oh yeah. I remember. Yeah. Candace Franklin. Yeah, I did the dress that she wore at the Miss Universe pageant. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, what is your process for designing a swimsuit collection?
Swimsuit collection. Sex. Oh, I
Sex.
mean, it's got to be sexy.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, for my swimsuit collection, it's called Aqua Couture,
Mhm.
and it describes itself. It's couture swimwear,
Right.
and the twist in it is they're not really pieces that you could only wear in the water.
Mm-hmm.
They're pieces that you could, put a skirt over it, or a sarong, and you could wear it out to a party.
Okay.
You could, you could, floss in it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to wear it into the pool or on the beach in the
Mhm.
ocean. So I, as I said, I like challenges. So I started to use non-traditional swimsuit fabrics. like I do embellishments on the swimsuits, sequins, uh, all the stuff that you would never think that you would use on a swimsuit. So I've been doing that. I've been doing that for years now.
Is it that you like to take chances? You like to take risks? What drives you to do that?
It's
to be different.
The challenge to manipulate a fabric that to do something that it's not really supposed to do. There's some fabrics that does certain things, like chiffon is soft and breezy and airy and all of that stuff. So sometimes, to challenge myself, maybe I would add a more structured fabric with the chiffon to make it do something totally different than it normally does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When people wear your clothes,
Mm-hmm.
what do you hope they experience?
Confidence. Want them to feel beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the main thing would be confidence.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Why is that so important?
Well, because you don't want to, you don't want to put on something and then hide under a shawl or anything like that. You want, if I'm going to make a dress for or an outfit for a client, I want her to put it on and feel beautiful and say, "Wow, this was made for me. I feel beautiful. I know I look beautiful." I could camouflage, the weaker areas,
Right.
because we all have that,
Right.
and highlight the strong points. And that's one of the questions that I always ask a new client: what's your strong point? And some would say the legs, the back, or the bust area, or some of them would even say, "Well, I don't want to show my back because blah blah blah."
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's usually something from childhood. Like for example, a client would say, "Oh, make it a little longer because my legs are skinny," and it's usually some childhood baggage that they have, and they're an adult now, but it's still there in their head.
Right.
Of course, the legs are beautiful, and I'm not seeing what they're telling me, saying. So it's usually, yeah. So that's what I do. I camouflage and highlight.
So, Kali said, "Oops, meant Johannesburg, South Africa." I'm not sure what that relates to, but born in the 60s. What are your thoughts on 70s style? Parentheses, disco attire to a birthday party in 2013. What would you suggest for a man and the woman? Well, actually, let me reread this. I did this injustice. The person's name in the chat room is born in the 60s.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So here is the question. And I do apologize, born in the 60s. What are your thoughts on 70s style, disco, for example? Disco attire to a birthday party in 2013. What would you suggest for a man and a woman?
Okay, well, the one thing you don't do is bring something that you had from the 70s.
Oh, really?
No.
People actually keep those things, huh?
Yes. But no. I mean, they're inspirations that you could use, to make it the 70s. But the fabrics and, I mean, you'd have to, even if you have something, you definitely have to tweak it.
Okay.
Because it would look, unless you really could pull off something vintage. Yeah. And you have to, it's a certain
attitude.
Yeah, an attitude. Yeah, for you to do that. Yeah, but you could get like, for example, the 70s were the fitted shirts.
Right.
And so you could get something, and actually all of that stuff is coming. It's very current now. It's very trendy now.
But is there a different twist to it today? Or the same style, same fabric?
There's a twist to it.
Okay.
It's updated. The fabrics are different. Actually,
okay.
Yeah, the fabrics are different. Yeah.
So I remember the fitted shirt
Yeah.
the puff sleeves,
Yeah.
the gabardine bell bottoms.
Oh,
I ain't gonna touch.
gabardine
No,
is yeah.
I'm not touching.
It's
no.
not a good word.
No, Gary. I'm not. No, I'm not touching that. No, no. I don't care what comes back in style. There are certain pieces of clothing you'll have to only bury me in them.
I
no.
mean, polyester at one point was a bad word,
Right.
but now they've improved, polyester
Okay.
tremendously, and actually they're blending polyester in a lot of fabrics, so it's much more wearable,
Uh-huh.
and it's good if you have something with a little bit of polyester in it. It doesn't wrinkle as much. But back in the day, polyester, what?
Yeah, yeah. I know some people who are still looking to go on the couch because they were forced to wear some polyester pieces. So, and how much does travel influence your designs?
Very much. I love, as I said, I love going to the Caribbean, basically for relaxation,
Okay.
inspiration, love getting on the beach, love going in the water. It just does something, to me. So when I come back to New York, I'm
You ready?
fully loaded, ready to go. Yeah, so that's what it really helps me to
And
recharge my batteries.
who do you collaborate with creatively?
In terms of fashion,
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, lots of fashion friends here that I have. Michelle Cole is a good friend of mine.
Oh yeah, Michelle is one of our. Well, you're gonna be a CWS family now.
Right.
Michelle was here once.
Right,
Very
yeah.
very inspirational designs and so on. Very talented.
Yes, and of course I'm friends with a lot of the designers in Guyana. Pat Coates, Randy he's one of the young designers in Guyana. Francois. There are lots of kids that I talk to on the internet.
Oh really?
Yeah, in Guyana. And of course here in New York I have a lot of fashion designers that I'm friendly with. Francis Hendy, who's from Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
I've done there's a whole lot of stuff happening right now in terms of fashion in the Caribbean,
Mhm.
but it kind of got started in 2001 with the birth of Caribbean Fashion Week.
Okay.
So I was part of that event, and then, so I got to meet a lot of other designers, from the Caribbean.
Mhm.
Then a lot of the countries now have their own fashion event. Trinidad has one, Barbados have one. So I was able to meet a lot of the designers from those countries. Claudia Pegas, who's from Trinidad, Yuzuri International, they're from Jamaica. And so so often I go back. There's an event coming up that I'm attending in Tortola. It's going to be, quite a few Caribbean designers. Yuzuri International, this young lady, Ayong Chi, who won Project Runway. She's part of that show also. And a lot of other designers from the British Virgin Islands and also from New York. Andrew Harris, who is menswear designer from Ghana. He lives in Barbados. So he's also going to be sharing his collection there.
I'm hoping that, and one of the reasons why I added an extra day, the Tuesday, as a for the arts, culture, and entertainment, because I know in that arena there's so much, and I'm hoping that one day I'll be able to bring some of these people on to, share their experiences as well, because it's not just about Guyanese. It's we live in a global village now,
definitely.
and I just want to bring people from different backgrounds. To share their journey and so on. In the chat room, Born in the 60s said, "Vintage is my thought. Thanks, Raj. And I don't want to see this man in gabardine or anything fitted, but thanks. Whatever, Born in the 60s. Temptation said, what of that Guyana designer, Derek Moore?
I saw him last September when I was in Guyana. He's still designing, and he now has a new capacity. He is I think the artistic director of the Miss Guyana Universe pageant.
Okay.
Yeah, he's working in that capacity, but I know he's still designing also.
How would you describe your personal fashion style?
Classic. I guess.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy, casual,
Yeah.
funky sometimes.
Mm.
It varies. I'm not scared of anything in terms of um, clothing.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
could, I would wear something, and friends would say, "Oh, okay, only you could get away with it." When I go to the Caribbean, I would rock a speedo. I don't care.
You have to have the right attitude, right?
Right? Yeah. Right.
And can you tell us a little bit about your current collection?
I'm working on a new collection right now for the Summer Sizzle, which is in BVI, and it's the palettes are basically black with a few hints of neons. So that's as much as I'm gonna say.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And chat room, Temptation. What Temptation said wow. So my next question is, what's the must-have characteristic for a young and talented fashion designer to survive in the fast-changing fashion world?
Oh wow! I mean, with the internet, you have so much, knowledge. It's so much information. Sorry, at your fingertips. You just gotta try to get as much information that you would need to help you, and you would know what you wanna do.
Mm-hmm.
I went through I went to Parsons School of Design, so I was schooled as a fashion designer. You could be a self-taught designer and do
Mhm.
very well.
Mm-hmm.
But so I took that route. I went and I learned how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't make as much mistakes as somebody who is self-taught. For me, and I'm just going to give you a little history of how
Sure.
it started. When I was in Ghana attending Yarborough School of Art, and I went through that whole. It was a 2-year program. I actually played sports. I had a whole different life.
Really?
Yeah, I was on the national badminton team, and we were going I was representing Guyana in the tournament in the Caribbean Championships in Jamaica, and I found out that there was a school in Jamaica. So I took my portfolio with me, and on the day off, when I was off from playing sports
Uh-huh.
in the Caribbean Championships, I actually sneaked out, went to the school, applied, yeah, spoke to the person, whatever they saw my work and everything. Got back to Ghana a couple of months after. I got a reply saying that, yes, I was, yeah. So you have to don't, as you were saying in the beginning of your show, don't give up.
Right.
You have to dream and believe it,
Mm-hmm.
and put all the things that you need to do to make it happen.
I like that. Chat room, born in the 60s, not you, Mr. Collins, but the man who needs to wear the born in the 60s, thank you for being so kind and gracious. What advice do you have for aspiring art and fashion students in Guyana?
In Guyana?
Yeah.
Well, as I said a couple of times before, you have this magnificent tool, the internet.
Internet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, I had to go to the library and look for what I wanted to get. You have this wonderful engine called Google
Yes.
that you could find any information.
You're not plugging for Google, right?
No, no. But it's we all use it and we know how great it is.
Yes.
So I mean, students in this era, they have that tool, and they could find anything that they want. I mean, the kids in Ghana, they Google certain fabrics, and the same kid in Ghana would send me a picture and say, "What fabric is this?"
Mm-hmm.
And where can I get it? And sometimes he would send me the money for me to buy it to send it to him in Ghana. So use all the tools that you could get to get the information you need to make to make it successful for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier now than when I did it. Now you could even do sketches on a computer and do all this, crazy
iPad.
stuff. On your
Yes.
iPad and all of that stuff. So, I mean, I think you still need to know how to sketch by,
Right,
freehand.
right.
So, still, employ some of the old techniques, but use as much as the information the information that you could get to really make it work for you.
What's next for you, Roger?
This project that I'm doing in Guyana, it's a workshop situation,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in the early stages of we actually spoke today,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it will incorporate a few very, very experienced people in the fashion industry here in New York going to Guyana to talk.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that. And before I ask this other question,
Mhm.
if someone wants to find you or to use your service, how do they reach you?
My email or website and Facebook. and
Okay,
all
what
that.
is your website, Roger? I'm gonna drag it out of you since you're so particular about plugging. I'm gonna drag it out of you. What is your website?
It's RogerGaryDesigns.com.
Roger Gary Designs with an S.
Yes.
.com.
.com.
Okay, and how would you like to be remembered?
Oh wow. Well, I guess remember. Oh, you forgot about me already? I mean, I guess as a passionate person and somebody who really loves what he did as a career.
Hmm. And you are known to be quite funny and a prankster, according to some, right? I had my own experience.
Don't believe it.
What makes you laugh, Roger?
Oh, geez, all the time. I find humor in everything. I'm in the middle of the night I could be looking at TV or whatever, and I would find something hilarious, and I would burst into.
Can I share that private joke we had when I asked you? I was trying to get you to tell me a little bit about. Can I share it? 'Cause that was no. I am talking to Roger, and I'm inviting him to come on. So I'm trying to get a sense of how I'm going to create his ad, because time is of the essence. I want to put something out there. So I said to Roger, just imagine you're meeting me for the first time or someone, right? And you want to draw them into what you're doing, make an impact. And this guy said to me, others make frocks. And I'm like, what? Others make frock, right? Okay. And
Well,
for those...
you would only understand that if you're of a certain age.
Right. And for those of you who are not familiar with our colloquialism, I know it's going to fall miserably and very flat when I translate it into the Queen's English. I sew dresses, right? Anyway, born in the 60s said, that is awesome, Roger. Temptation, Mr. Moore has definitely come a far way. My daughter modeled quite a few of his pieces back in the advent of his career. 3D drawings available now. And Roger, when you first came, you asked me, well, how long are we going to talk for, right? Yeah, I'm going to put it out there.
Okay.
And I said, hour and a half, and you were stunned. What on earth are we going to talk about? And I said to you what I say to lots of our guests: don't worry about it. Once this conversation gets started, you'll find that time just creeps up on you.
Yeah. Well,
right?
You know what? Let me tell you the first thing that for me,
Uh-huh.
it's very difficult for me to talk about myself, and for me to talk about myself for an hour and a half.
So we accomplished something major here today.
That is what I panicked about.
Well, Roger, one of the things that we do with all our guests is ask them to close the show by giving us something inspirational. But before we go there, I want to take this moment to say to you, thank you for coming. But there are a few things that I got from you, and during this conversation, I got, and I hope the youths who are listening got some of them at least. Determination, belief in what you're doing, passion. Don't be scared to leap. Don't be scared to take that chance. Right. One of the things you mentioned is that you could wear any damn thing you want, right? And the other thing that resonated with me when you said you like to bend the fabric or use things with the fabric that is not supposed to be used with, right? And so you're adventurous in that way. One of the other things that really touched me here tonight is that, and throughout the conversation, you mentioned this, is that you make yourself available to people, to young people.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so important. We didn't get a chance to talk about mentorship, but it came out.
Yeah.
Right? And in that, I want to take this opportunity to say how important mentorship is. How important it is to have someone in your life that when you're doing something you're passionate about, to congratulate you, to encourage you.
Yeah.
Right? I spoke to a friend of mine this morning. I went to school with since when I was a child, and he said to me, Selwyn, congratulations. And I mean, I hear that a lot. You're doing a good job. I hear that a lot. But coming from someone, from one of your peers, someone who you grew up with, it is important.
Right.
And we oftentimes forget the importance of being free with our compliments.
Right.
Free. It's not about swelling somebody's head.
Right.
It's about encouraging someone. Because there are times when we get to gaps in the road, or we get to the base of a mountain, and you need an extra energy to climb it or to cross that bridge. And this is what, these type of interaction, the congratulations and the encouragements and so on, this is what help people. So, Roger, my hat's off to you.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
I mean, for you to put yourself out there and you're busy. You're a busy guy. I know this. Right? It's people don't know. It's been a while to get you to come on the show. Right?
Yes,
and for you to make yourself available to this young man, we don't know when we put ourselves there, we make ourselves available to people, what they are going to do, or how many people's lives they will think. Now, I know it's CWS is my show. I don't want to suck up all the air, Roger. So I'm going to ask you, my friend, humbly, to just give us a few words of wisdom or advice and, close us off.
Yeah, well, one of the things I would really want to say is that you have to, listen to your children, your sons and your daughters, and hear what they're saying, especially when they're very young. I have to thank my mother and my father for listening to what I wanted to be. And never interrupted, I guess, my flow or my rhythm to do what I want to do. So I think we, adults, as parents, I want my child to do this, and you have these dreams that you want them to, that you may have in your head of what they should be. But I think we need to listen and understand that not everybody is going to be an astronaut. So, and then there are other things in life that your kids could become and be successful and be happy and really have a very beautiful life. Yeah. So basically, that's what I want to say. I want to say there's my dad. I didn't really talk much about him, but he was the one who really, in his own little quiet way, he never. I had cousins who were superstars. Let's put it that way. I have two cousins that were superstars, and looking back now, my dad never said to any of us, "Why can't you be like your cousins?"
Wow.
So I want to thank him for that, and I think he realized that we were, superstars in our own way. Yeah. So we have, so you have to, as I said, listen to your children and really understand them and know what they're capable of doing, and just as important, what they're not capable of doing.
What they're not capable of doing.
Yeah.
Wow. And I want to thank you, Roger. Thanks again. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Thanks for
having
being
me.
so generous with your time.
Thank
I
you.
hope you had a good time.
Yes, I did.
Right? And we are going to invite you to come back again sometime.
Yes.
And congratulations, good luck with all your new endeavor, and especially the project going to Guyana.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's in, as I said, it's in the planning stages. So I'm hoping that it does come off.
G said in the chat room, the race is not for the swift, and that is so very true, G.
Yeah.
So this is Selwyn Collins saying to you once again, thank you for your patience. Thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow, our guest is Dr. Deline Musilak. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But please tune in around the same time, 8:30 to 10 p.m. We're hoping to have a wonderful conversation. Immunization is one of the topics. But thank you once again. Good night. See you tomorrow.
Good night.